Hey friends, welcome to Your Story Matters podcast. My name is Michaela, and I am so happy you're here. My hope for this show is that we experience the power of storytelling and understand that we are the main characters in our story so that we can live as our truly authentic selves. You're in the right place to hear real stories that will challenge, inspire, and encourage you on your personal growth journey. I hope you enjoy. Today on the show is Juliette Karaman. Juliette is a self-relationship expert, mentor, and speaker who helps high-achieving leaders, couples, and visionaries reignite intimacy, rebuild trust, and unlock deep, embodied pleasure through her transformative approach, Touch Base. With decades of experience, she guides her clients through her VIP Scrumptious Experience, signature rapid release rewire and restore method, and Touch Base, creating safe spaces for healing, vulnerability, and pleasure to thrive. Touch Base helps couples move beyond disconnection and the lasting effects of buried trauma by creating safety in the body and mastering each other's pleasure language to transform intimacy. Drawing on somatic healing, Tantra, EMDR, hypnotherapy, and coaching, Juliette blends embodied wisdom with cutting-edge methods to heal trauma, dissolve blocks, and foster lasting intimacy and self-trust. As host of the globally ranked podcast, The Scrumptious Woman, Juliette inspires thousands to rewrite their relationships with love, intimacy, and themselves. Known for her outrageous laugh and zest for life, she adores her young adult kids, her partner, and her delightfully eccentric whippet, none of whom fit neatly into any box, much like her work. I wanted to say before this episode started that Juliette and myself discuss incest and date rape, inappropriate touch, and BDSM. If that is triggering for any of you, I just wanted you to be informed before this episode starts, but it really is such a beautiful conversation. Without further ado, here is Juliette. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am thrilled to be joined today by Juliette Karaman. Juliette, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, this is so exciting. So we are just going to start off big, as we always do here, and ask the ultimate opening question. What is your story?
I mean, do you have all day?
I do. Yes. Go for it.
Right. It's so interesting when people ask me what part of I'm always think what part of my story is actually most relevant. So I'm a mother of 4 young adults. And I think actually one of my biggest achievements is having raised 4 kids that are really kind, loving, and just beautiful human beings, right? I mean, sometimes motherhood we don't actually recognize what a big freaking deal that is. Now, of course, along all this, I've had my ups and downs in relationships. I actually divorced their father. We are very, very good friends. But I realized how out of touch I was with my own life, with my own body. I've had massive sexual trauma, which I didn't realize. It laid buried under the carpet. We didn't know about it until at one point my body and my psyche was ready for it, for me to remember it, so that I can now help others go through this. So really, one of my major things is that for over 27 years, I've helped kids on the spectrum. So autistic, any learning disadvantages, I would say. I wouldn't even call them disadvantages because they're just different, right? We just learn how the brain works and how we can teach them about their feelings, their emotions. And then the last 15 years, what I've really done is helped couples come back to themselves, actually learn how to have touch that lands. So that could be a concept, the way that someone explains it, or actual have physical touch. I have created something called the touch languages, a bit like the love languages. Just how are we letting life touch us? How in touch are we with life? Emotional, spiritual, physical, then erotic, and really energetic, and noticing that we have all of this. We're not just one little bit. And I've helped over 600 clients by now. Couples come back to each other. I'm a death doula as well. I've helped 3 of my family members move pass over. I've helped two of my clients pass over. So it's really being in touch with who you are in this lifetime and the next.
Absolutely. Going back to the beginning with, first of all, raising 4 kids, congratulations. I'm sure that they are going to just make the world better than it was before they arrived. How did you find, or kind of what was that pivotal moment of, oh, I'm not in touch with myself anymore? Kind of what are the symptoms, if you will, that kind of lead one to like, oh, this is a part of my life that is kind of dormant or dull or dark. So explain that for me.
Oh, well, mine was a little bit more dramatic. Like,
Hit me. Let's go.
I divorced my husband, then I went back into a relationship with a man with 3 daughters. So we had 7 children between the two of us. Moved in together, had a house with 8 different bedrooms. The kids were all in 7 different schools. And I was constantly trying to manage everyone. I know what you need. My God, what are these mothers that really, I just wanted to do the best for all of them because I knew that, there had been some stuff in the past that they didn't quite get it, what they wanted, et cetera, whatever. We always think that we know best. Yeah,
Hmm.
well, my body was giving me all the hints. It's like, hey, slow down. Until I was in Portobello Market. If you have watched Notting Hill, you know where that is, the market where they meet.
Yes.
And I was on the floor. I had fainted. My bag completely spilled open, everything everywhere. And the flower woman is like, hey, love, are you okay? I'm like, I've got no idea. I've never fainted in my life. So fast forward, I spent 9 months in and out of hospital trying to figure out with the doctors what was wrong with my body. So yeah, so that was my wake up call. It's like, hey, you're not going to listen. Then we're going to make sure you listen.
That's exactly right. What did those 9 months kind of teach you? I had my own 3 months of health stuff, right? And so one of them is like, oh, I'm just happy to be alive, kind of no matter what happens, I kind of want some kind of diagnoses, but it was just stress and trauma for my own divorce. And you kind of just have to tell yourself every day it's going to be okay. So kind of what were those 9 months if you can just remember one thing?
I remember we have these half landings in our house in London, having fainted and waking up in a pool of blood. And I had cut my wrist on one of the vases, one of the Chinese vases that was on the half landing. Yeah, I used to be a decorator, so interior decorator, so I had very beautiful things. And I just remember waking up and smelling it and tasting that metallic thing and things flashing through my mind. It's like, is this it? Is this my ending? And I was like, no, no way. This is changing. For me to ask for help was really tough. I'm the one that everyone came to. I'm the one that everyone depended on. I'm the one that always had, like, I don't know, 20 children with me to concerts. And all of a sudden I couldn't get from A to B. I couldn't step more than 3 meters without fainting. I needed to ask my partner. I needed to ask my kids. I needed to ask my ex-husband. Thank God we were really close. But it was just like, I didn't even know what I needed. But to bring it down to the physical things that I needed, that started becoming easy. And then asking for the emotional help that I needed. That was a bit more tough.
So you've spent, decades with intimacy and trauma and kind of making the two friends again, understanding that trauma leads sometimes to intimacy deficiency or just unawareness in general. So how does that door open? Have you always been curious about it? And then even to kind of start coaching people. How do you know enough to be like, I can walk someone through this?
Extensive training, first of all,
Yes.
and then extensive also life experiences. I remember, and trauma is a word that's being used a lot. So I want to just give you my definition of it.
Please.
Trauma is something that happened to you, and your whatever happened to you happened too fast, too quickly, and too soon for your body or psyche to catch up with it. And that's still living in you. So you're still remembering some parts of it. And that's how it's now influencing your behavior now. All right. Because we see that 2 people have seen exactly the same accident. One is reliving it in their mind and it's holding them back. And one is just like, it's like water off the back.
Mhm.
So for me, I remember always having a lot of intuition as a kid. And a few people that I just didn't want to come too close to energetically. My parents were like, come on, give your uncle a kiss. And I was like, "Mm." And then at one point when I was probably about 6, my uncle kept on touching me really inappropriately. And I remember going to my mom saying, yeah, uncle is doing this and that. And she's like, oh, well, that's just what uncles do. So that's the first time where I'm like, oh, I actually got manipulated very early on in life and was gaslit that, hey, that's just what gets done. So that schism in my mind just kind of like, oh, where I didn't start trusting my body anymore. So that's really where that started. And then, yeah, there's incest. There were all kinds of things that I didn't consider that was so weird because I'd had that answer from my mother.
Uh-huh.
You just don't really think about it. Until one point, I was date raped when I was 18 and completely buried it for 20 years until I was actually in a class where they were doing impact play on the back of my shoulders. And I could feel that my body was starting to shake and I could feel the emotions. And I had done enough trauma work and enough work with my emotions and everything to know that something big was happening. So I called the 2 people that were holding the class. I'm like, can you both of you do this? Because I'm about to pop. And they're like, great. What do you need afterwards? I'm like, I don't know yet. Probably water and maybe some cuddling.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. And they just went on and my body just started shaking like an animal when
Mm.
all of a sudden you've had some kind of trauma and you run and then they shake, you see a dog or a deer shaking. And I was wailing, crying, all the images, all the thoughts, everything came flooding back. And I remembered what happened. And then I went back to the UK and I reenacted that scene with a dominant and 5 guys, but I gave it a different ending.
Uh,
So I've always known that for me, I need to duplicate things, and that's how you move through trauma. You don't actually have to physically do it. You can also just feel it, imagine it, see it, experience it, taste it, smell it, and then move through it. But I've done this from early on when had a massive fear of spiders. I moved to Texas from Holland and my biology teacher took me to Big Ben and put a tarantula on my hand. I'm like, he's like, all right, what are you seeing? What's the image? So any experience you can break down into four elements: an image, a thought, a body sensation, and an emotion. He's like, what are you seeing? I'm like, it's got horrible long legs. You can see the little spikes.
yeah.
Like, all right, what's the thought? It's like, it's disgusting. Get it off me. It's like, what's the emotion? It's like, I'm terrified. I'm afraid. And what's the body sensation? I'm clenching. Oh, he's like, great. Take a breath. Just look at it again. And after 2 or 3 times of going through those 4 elements, I was like, oh, look, it's got all these hairy little bits on its legs. That's kind of cool. But it just takes us out of that fear base of that where we're so gripping. So like all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's curiosity. So I've been doing that unconsciously all my life, or quite consciously, but hadn't quite recognized it until I started training in this. Fear of heights. I jumped out of planes, these kind of things.
My gosh, I would like to be you when I grow up. To overcome my fear of flying and snakes is one day in the far, far future. Not looking forward to it anytime soon. But if
You don't have to do this. You can also hypnotize
correct,
people. You can
I would
teach them
rather do
other
the
little plans.
flying. I would rather do the flying. I feel like that's a little bit more important. It will serve my life better. The animal is just like we're never going to come in contact. Some fears are healthy, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
So it is so funny how trauma just lives in your body. I've kind of spent time since I had my own experience at 12 years old and knowing how hidden that can be. And it kind of just plays like a ticker tape in your mind until one day it kind of happens. So I want to go back to one thing you said where sometimes instead of running away from the trauma, we kind of run to it.
Mhm.
Explain that, because that psychology is kind of fascinating as to why would we not just run for the hills?
Great. So I've noticed working with people that have certain trauma on board or have had intense experiences, if we want to call it this way, it sets us up in a way that we bond with others that have had either a similar experience or are the polar opposite. So that attract.
Mm,
So it's exactly what you don't want to attract that you're then attracting.
mm,
Right? Exactly like the controlling whatever person that might have like even looked at you or said something to you in a way. And then somehow, because you haven't moved this through your body, through your fascia, which is where it lives, there's still that energetic resonance that you get pulled towards it.
Isn't that wild? Because that has kind of been the through line of, yeah, this behavior is like it all stems from one thing, right? It's not like I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm just going to do this because it's fun. But it always is kind of leading back to something. There's always an answer. There's always a beginning for what is happening. Um,
And that's sometimes that's really the beauty of it, right? To like start it for me, it's always awareness. Where can we start becoming aware of the patterns that we're running, of the programming? It's like looking at your iPhone or whatever phone you have. It's like if you'd see the programming behind it, if we could look in ourselves that way, it's oh, this is where we actually learned that we were not enough, or the way that we look at someone, someone's going to interpret that, or the way that we've been looked at. We now make it mean this and that about ourselves. And
yeah.
it's like that onion layer. I just love it. It's the psyche is, and then the whole energetics about it are really interesting.
Yeah. Talk more about that if you don't mind.
So the subconscious, first of all, why I had buried my date rape for so many years is because I wasn't ready for it. And the subconscious, its job is really to keep us safe. So sometimes that just means, no, you're not going there. People forget. And it's until you are actually ready to look at that, like your fear of flying is your subconscious telling you that it's keeping you safe, probably for something completely different. And when I take people under with hypnotherapy and with all the other processes that I do, that is something that I tell your subconscious saying, hey, you're safe here, thanking it because it plays a role, right? If you think about how often we talk about internal family systems and all these other modalities, and it's kind of like, which part of you is driving the bus right now? Is it your 12-year-old?
Mhm.
Is it your grandmother that's saying, no, don't do that? Is it your little brat or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
that's the bit where we can just start becoming aware, and it's like, "Oh, what do you need right now?" It's like, "No, baby, why about you sit in the back seat and I'll drive?"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And we're just not consciously aware of that very often. So that's the whole thing. Awareness, I keep saying awareness is the first step towards self-love and really starting to recognize and to stop being so tough on ourselves as well.
Yeah.
My partner is terrible. We do the crossword, the Wordle and the crossword every day,
Yes.
and he's the one that fills it in, and then he'll put the wrong letter, and it's like, "Oh, wanker," and I'm like, "Whoa, is this how you talk to yourself?" Like, "Oh, stupid you." I'm like, "Wow,
Mm.
it's important how you speak to yourself."
And it's funny that we kind of sometimes get away with the small things like that very thing, and then it blossoms into every area of life where it's like, "Oh, if you're okay saying you're an idiot over missing something that small, imagine what you do when it's
But
something
that's it.
monumental."
And I think that's also one of the things where people like, I have these communication and intimacy cards deck.
Mhm.
It's, um It's something that I've developed over with working with 600 clients. It's the dyad, and it's usually it starts with a tell me prompt.
Mhm.
So tell me what quality do you have that you love and that most people don't know about you? And the people be like, I don't know. I'm like, well, start thinking about this, right? When my
Yeah.
girls were here for lockdown, they were locked down for 6 weeks here. I just moved to the countryside and they couldn't get back to London. So those were the kind of things. Tell me what you love about yourself. Tell me what you love about your sister. Tell me what was the best thing about your day so that you're actually focusing your mind on what the best things are so that you get more of that, brings in more experiences like that.
That's so good. We are very big into awareness here on this show, and how awareness is the first step into everything. The world is at your fingertips at that point. And so when it comes to pleasure, we hear that in sometimes a religious context and we're thinking bad, sinful, not good. We look at it in the extreme and think something different. So kind of what would you say generally or even specifically is why is pleasure so necessary and why are we so hesitant about it?
I love that. And I will get to your questions. But I would first start with a prompt saying, tell me, what does pleasure mean to you?
Mm,
What have you been taught about pleasure? Because we've never had an open discussion about that. When I used to use the word pleasure, I got in Facebook and Instagram jail. So I started calling it scrumptious because scrumptious has the same like autonomic kind of like sound to it.
yes.
So my podcast is called The Scrumptious Woman. It's pleasure so often is associated with sex,
Mhm.
with sensual or sex or, physical touch, intimate physical touch. Well, for me, pleasure is like the pleasure I get out of watching a puppy play, the pleasure I get from having the sun on my shoulders, or the pleasure I get over looking at all the leaves, how they're turning at the moment outside of my garden. That is also pleasure for me. That's what brings me joy. That's what fills me up. That's how life touches me, right? How in touch am I with life? So
Yeah.
that for me is all pleasure. But so many people have learned the word pleasure that it's physical connection,
Mhm.
often has to do with the genitals only.
Right.
Or kissing. And that, what kind of religion? How have you been brought up? Where in the world have you been brought up? All of these things really influence how we see pleasure. So for me, to have pleasure in my life is to bring joy, to bring moments of joy, moments of scrumptiousness in my life, whether that's with my partner, sensually and sexually. Yes, that's lovely as well, but it doesn't need to be that. I don't have that every day. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a woman, 57 having sex every single day. There are some, but
God bless them.
and having pleasurable sex every day, right? So, but it's really that's the bit. It's like when we can start bringing pleasure, scrumptiousness, joy, however you want to call it, a word that doesn't trigger you, that doesn't trigger negative things with it. And start how can you just bring that a bit more breath, maybe a little pause into your life? Because the more that we do that, then the more that we train ourselves again to have more of that, right? The brain is the reticular articulating system is incredible. When you're buying a red car, all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. So if you train yourself to see pleasure, to indulge in pleasure, to put is pleasure for me. It's putting on a song and having a little dance break, 3-4 minutes. And I've completely changed my energetic state. So that is why for me, pleasure is really important and how in touch we are physically with ourselves as well. How can we actually slow down and just notice what the fingers, when they touch, how that feels in your body? Or maybe you're touching just your earlobe really slowly. When we put on hand cream, can we take a little bit longer and actually just notice every single sensation? And a lot of people expect that pleasure should, or that sensations should always be pleasureful.
Mm,
I said there's a big difference. It might be sensationful and you just don't have the capacity yet that might blow you up, might actually be too many sensations. So
yeah.
start really slow with self-touch. I get people just to focus on the inside of their wrists for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And that usually is more than enough
Mm, wow.
capacity.
That's right. And it wasn't until I was with the doctors like 2 winters ago and understanding how much like I'm fully in my body, yet the brain and the body sometimes are on 2 different people. And there's There's not a connectivity of this brain belongs to this body and this body to this brain. And so really coming into it, and that's why I like yoga and just kind of doing centering things to be like, I'm only in this body until I pass on, right? And so a lot of trauma, whether it's capital T or lowercase t, I don't know if you ascribe to that, but just knowing, again, body awareness, where it lives in you, how it affects. So, what has this training and coaching kind of taught you about the body? Things that have surprised you, or things that you're like, you know what, I kind of had a feeling about this all along?
I think we know a lot already instinctively. And one of the things that I always say when I see pregnant women is I'll tell them, it's listen, I had 4 kids in under 3 years' time, lots of miscarriages, etc., etc. Do you mind if I give you a piece of advice? I always ask. And they're like, yes. I'm like, good. Don't listen to anyone's advice but your own. You've got this. Okay. It's
Uh,
going to drive you crazy if you keep listening to everyone. And I can just see they're like, their relief. I'm like, you will know instinctively what to do with your baby. So stop listening to everyone. So that's first of all. What it really taught me is a lot of people don't have bodily awareness. And I already found this when I was a Senko, when I was working with kids on the spectrum, where their body starts and stops.
uh,
What is happening in their body when I tell them take a breath all the way down to your tummy? And they're like looking at their tummy like, how do I bring a breath there? I'm like, you don't have to force it, but just in through your nose and just kind of like see where does your body expand? Does it contract? And then most people just say, oh no, I feel numb. And I'm like, great. That numbness is also a feeling. So can you feel at the edges of that numbness? And when they slow down enough, they're like, oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's a bit more soft or a bit more jagged. And they're like, oh, I can actually start seeing colors, or I can feel it more. It's more dense, or it feels a bit like metal. But we haven't been taught the language for that. So I think that's just the part where it's like, we also teach our kids, like, "How are you doing?" "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like, not like, "Okay, well, at the moment, actually, there's a bit of a constriction in my chest." And we so often want to then associate, like, that constriction must be because you're sad or because you have fear. And it's like, what about we can just be value neutral and just saying, "Okay, there's a little bit of tightness in my chest. I feel tension around my mouth, but yeah, thank you for checking in. I think I'm doing all right. I'm
yeah.
noticing some body sensations."
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Because, yeah, it is always the I'm fine, and everyone just kind of takes that at face value and goes on with their day. And it's like, "Ooh, there might be more there if we're willing to kind of take a moment and stop and smell the roses." So I want to get into touch base. I want to know everything, but you're willing to share. What was the inspiration to start it and then just kind of go forward, and what is it? How does it work? All the fun things.
So, touch base, what I really use it as is a kinesthetic anchor. So, it's your thumb and your pointer finger, and you bring them together really, really slowly. So, you might just want to do this along with me. So, you take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and then just bring your thumb and your pointer finger together with maybe a few millimeters apart, and start to notice what it feels like to have these fingers that close together but not quite touching. And you might notice that there's some bracing going on in other parts of your body, but just let that go and only put your attention on the fingers and let them touch now. And then continue breathing. And then ever so slowly move the top finger slowly across your thumb. Notice if you can start feeling every single finger ridge as you move it forward and backward. And by now, you may have noticed that your jaw, if that was a bit locked, is starting to unlock a little bit. And take a breath there. And I want you to know that there's no lion behind you, there's no tiger behind you, there's no one trying to get at you. So, anytime that you put your fingers together in this touch base signal, you'll recognize that you're safe. So what it's doing, it's actually rewiring the brain that this is your point of safety. And
Mm.
if you do this twice or three times a day, I mean, that took what, 2 minutes or so, two,
Mhm.
three. It uses meridian points, all kinds of different EFT points as well. And when you start, then when you do this, I get people to do it 30 days, twice a day, 30 days. It rewires your brain, your body to like down regulate a little bit, right? If we're very much in that monkey's mind. Oftentimes before people are intimate, I have them do this. I always sit next to people that are terrified of flying. And I do this with them during the whole flight. I hypnotize them, I do this, and they're like, oh my God, 30 years of not being able to fly. And I sit next to you. I'm like, yeah, it seems to happen all the time. Start charging for it.
You probably should.
And they do come and work with me afterwards because they're like, oh my God, that was life changing. I
Yeah.
sat through a 10-hour flight not being afraid at all. I'm like, yeah, there you go. It's
Wow.
that simple. But now if you go and drive to the shop and someone cuts in front of you and you're about to like scream at them, you just touch base. And it's like, this is not too bad. I can actually be calm and collect it. So that's just come out of years of working with people. Now, what came out of that is the touch languages, the way that we're in touch with ourselves, which is a bit like the love languages, a bit like the erotic blueprints. And also, I just see that people are not always ready for physical touch. Not definitely not ready for erotic touch, but they are wanting to be touched by life. They want to be in touch with what's happening around them. And simple communication methods like my cards really help. But also presence and capacity work, right? Where I was saying that this 2 minutes works really well, where the actual physical touch for usually of my couples, we start with 5 minutes. We build up to 15 minutes. And just having seen that, I used to work in as a professional dominatrix as well. And I see where people have these scenes together for hours. And I'm like, they've already checked out. Their body, they've left the body
Yeah.
where it's like, no, can we just, for us really to be present with something, take micro little moments, build up that kind of touch that lads or that kind of moment, right? Where you're having that moment. How, how do we listen to a piece of music that really touches us? We can't listen for 2 hours. Oftentimes, when you go to a concert or an opera, that's just way too much.
Yeah.
But when you listen to one part of a song, you might get, wow, it's like I was experiencing making love out in the universe with my own soul or whatever people get, how they get moved. This is really where the capacity is. We don't have a lot of capacity. Our attention span is a few seconds these days. So how do we build that tiny, tiny bit?
That is so helpful. I love that. There's so much there that I wanna journal about of
Do
like,
it. Just start doing it. It's a
yes!
really easy, easy thing. And for
Yeah.
your flying, it will also help.
Either that or I'll just call you and say, "Juliette, please, I'm flying here. Just meet me at this airport and let's go." Perfect. I love it. Real emotional safety. What
Mhm.
does that look
I think, first of all, get in touch with your emotions, right? Because so often, I mean, I was talking to another coach about this. I co-hosted a lunch for some female leaders last week, and I took people through a 6 minute self-touch exercise, like spoon. And we had the whole restaurant to ourselves. So it was just our group. It was safe in there. And yet I heard people say, it's like, oh my God, I could hear the waitress come down the stairs. Like I was just so aware of everything that was pulling me out of that experience. So how do you feel safe? What are the places that you feel safe in yourself? I mean, I would start by saying very often it's your physical space. You can do things about your physical space. When I have men take their woman out to dinner, I said, see the difference when you are in the middle of a restaurant and when she's in a booth with her back to the wall. See the difference in the response, in the way that she interacts with you. And they come back and they're like, "Oh my God, what good homework." It's like all of a sudden she had attention on me. I'm like, yes, because her vigilance center, that part of the brain that's looking for danger, that's just quieted down because she knows there's only one entrance and one exit, and she can see it. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's interested in you. Right. So that is already the physical, but which will also help with the emotional thing. And then I would say also it's like emotions, it's very easy to like blurt out what they're doing wrong. But instead of saying
Yeah.
you and you always and I never or you never, it's kind of like saying, what's happening inside of you now? Bring it down to the body. What's happening there? And saying, hey, I'm feeling a little bit emotional. The emotions can get so stuck in our bodies that it's like, what is really good is emotional release. It's like a toddler stamping on the floor from time to time. They're gonna wait until there's no one there. Your tantrum, lie on the floor, like slam the desk, whatever it is, right? I tell people go outside, scream, get into the grass and just move it out of your body. Because if it
Yeah.
stays stuck there, that's what creates all the disease. So I'd say a lot of emotional safety is becoming aware of it, doing some physical movement, doing things like noticing energetically what are places that have you feel pulled in? What are the places that you're like, no, not going in there? Because
Huh.
energetically, we really do know. Things, what are the things that bring you out of your pleasure? Is it like you're just about to maybe kiss your husband or your partner and you see dirty socks on the floor? Or you're thinking, oh my God, did I turn off the oven or not? All those kind of things really help to start becoming aware of it. Again, awareness. And then notice things like, oh, okay, what are the things that I can preempt if I want to have 15 minutes of clear space in my head and in my body? Can I make sure that I'm actually in a clean place? Can I make sure that there's no one coming in, that my phone is off, that I'm feeling in my most, that I'm in comfortable clothes? All of this will help.
That's so helpful. Thank you for that. I want to switch gears ever so slightly. You've been alluding to it over this conversation, and this is a topic that I have many thoughts and feelings about it because it's always been off limits. It's always been bad, wrong, and it's BDSM. And so, talk to me about the role that it plays in conscious touch.
God, do you want like, yeah, the short
Let's go.
version or are you here for the next 5 years?
I'm here for the next 5 years. Let's do it.
Bondage, domination, sadomasochism. Well, not everyone uses it like that. But if you want to just kind of like put the title away and just kind of think it's a kink. What is a kink? A kink could be undressing in front of your husband if you're not used to that, in front of your partner. It could be leaving the light on so that someone else could possibly see if the curtains are open. It's all the things that might be considered slightly taboo. Now, in the beginning, we started talking about what pleasure even is, right? So it all depends what were you taught by your parents, church, religion, growing up, friends? What have you been taught? The 50 Shades of Grey didn't quite help with it because it looks like she's very broken. And for a lot of people, it's not about brokenness or anything. But there is a curiosity. They're like, there's something here and I'm willing to explore it. Now, the BDSM realm is also where we have containers, where we set containers. We say, okay, we're going to do a play, we're going to do a role, and these are my hard no's, these are my yeses. We use the stoplight system. Green is all go, that's perfect. Orange is like, whoa, slow down. And red is like, hands off, no play, stop, cease. I think that would be really good for people to have in their normal physical touch as well, an erotic
Mm,
touch with their partners, that they
that's
actually
good.
start to notice a little bit. It's like, hey, I'm a no to that. It's like, no, that's red. That is like, it's like, oh, yeah, you're touching me there. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to play with it. I'm a little bit at orange, but just notice, okay? So just
Yep.
slow down a little bit. We don't know about adjustments much. And then I was talking at a dominatrix academy the other week and really teaching them how I use it. I've used BDSM for healing and I've helped a lot of women overcome trauma because of getting physical impact, getting to that state of heightened sensations of where a lot of people would have to take drugs or plant medicine or something to become like almost this one with the universe. You can also do that through impact play. So for me, it's always been really important to separate any drugs, any alcohol from when we are enacting anything, when we are playing with BDSM, because you can get to such high states really quickly.
Yeah.
And also then the body doesn't know it's not feeling anything because it's just in pure bliss. So they won't be able to say red, yellow, orange, green, whatever anymore.
Right.
So it was really interesting for them to see who are professional dominatrixes and they're like, oh yeah, no, but yeah, for us, my sub does what I say. And I'm like, yes. And the dom is actually in the serving position because we see what's in front of us and what that person actually wants. It's like dominatrix is a little bit like a coach, is a little bit like a therapist, because oftentimes they're reenacting things that they may have never been able to express. And I would also say it's like, don't yuck their yum. Right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
whatever you may not be up for that, and that's perfectly fine. But for other people, that's exciting. And I'm like, I've seen things where I'm like, wow, okay, that's definitely that's not my kink. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. But also just to kind of like say it's consensual. When you see these two people doing things, it's consensual. They have talked about it in depth.
Yeah.
And if you think about how the way that we have sex, it's not in depth. We don't even say, like, where would you like to be touched? How would you like to be touched? Hey, I mean, already having a conversation about wearing a condom or not is already so triggering that a lot of people don't do it. And I'm like, if we can't even do that if we can't be intimate about that. So if you think about it, BDSM is actually really intimate because you're telling someone what you want to experience for a
Mm.
certain time period, and you're giving over the power to them.
Yeah. Just hearing all of that is it's almost like, we communicate in every other aspect of life, but when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sex, BDSM, anything like that, it's a conversation before anything else and a continuous
Yeah.
conversation. And so if you're not aware of yourself, this is kind of all going back to awareness, right? As it all does, then those pleasures cannot be experienced if it is a yuck to someone's yum. If it is, there's been religious trauma, there's been sexual trauma, there's been whatever. So, yeah, it really is just having a conversation. And I think that's the most powerful thing. And sometimes it's a little scary because there's a lot to unpack there with certain things, right? But it is really just being comfortable in yourself and finding that time to explore those things and then finding a partner or multiple that can also be that safe space for you too.
And I would also say stick around for repair. You're gonna
Yeah.
fuck stuff up. I mean, like anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Can we just, instead of like the cancel culture that we've been seeing lately, can we stick around?
Mm,
Yeah, and repair doesn't look like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I hurt you, I didn't mean to," because that's just gaslighting or what you experience isn't that. I'm like, "No." It's like, "Hey, taking responsibility is like, hey, I didn't realize that me doing this had that response in you.
mm.
What can we do? Can we do it over? What do you need for us to move on?"
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. All right, Juliet, what is your next chapter? How do you see your story unfolding? You have given us so much juicy goodness here, scrumptious stuff, if you will, which has all been so helpful. And I'm going to sit and think about this for a long time to come. But yeah, what is next for you?
Two things coming up. I am going to go to the Middle East soon. I'm going to work with some of the kids that are being flown out of Gaza that have gotten amputations and are being fitted with prosthetics. So I'm actually going to help them with the touch base and with other methods to overcome their pain and also overcome how they've been traumatized by things.
Huh.
That's just if I can help any kids with anything, that's really important to me. And what was really enlightening today and this week was recognizing that people have a choice and that most of the women that speak to me are at this point where they are wondering, am I staying? Am I leaving? And I hadn't quite seen it as black and white, that I just give them permission to come back to their bodies, to come back in touch with who they are so that they can make an informed decision and then get all the tools to, um, to obviously make that and to be in their lives without just bypassing it.
Yeah. Well, that's so good. So I actually have 2 last questions I lied to you in the beginning. Whoops.
That's
Um,
all right. Yeah, darling.
Forget about it. All right. So the 2 questions kind of go a little bit hand in hand. And of course, we'll link everything to you in the show notes, including the cards, the website, how people can look into you. So I guess that answers one question, but tell the people where they can find you. I'll have it in the show notes. And then number 2, what resources would you suggest for people, women, couples that are kind of looking into exploring themselves a little bit more, whether it is in a couple's intimacy or if it is in a personal kind of intimacy? What do you suggest?
All right. Well, first of all, you can find me. My brand is called Feel Fully You. Oh, yeah. You got to feel everything, right? I have
Yeah.
to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Feel Fully You. Yeah. So that's it. So you'll find me on my website, lots of things there Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Juliette, French spelling, double T, Karaman, Karaman. Yes. Still using my ex husband's name, much easier than my Dutchy name.
There you go.
I would say is I have an offer that people just get 5 of my communication cards, my Tell Me cards, and it's called Pick a Card. So go on any of my social media or my website and you'll be able to download that and also the touch base that we did.
Yeah.
So they can download that with a tracker for 21 or 30 days, I don't remember. And also some integration prompts. So that's first of all, that will already help a lot. Now, if they're starting to want to get in touch with themselves, I offer a program called In Touch, which is a 12-week program to really get, I would say, women back in touch with themselves and to make that decision if they're staying or if they're leaving. I have a beautiful couples experience where I create half an hour audio to guide him to touch her or
Mm.
the giver if it's the same marriage couple as well, for one person to receive, person to give. There are some beautiful books. I would say even if you are starting to think about maybe opening up sensuality a little bit in getting in touch with yourself. Obviously, look at my website. I've got lots of freebies there. There are lots of, there's a touch reboot kit, which is a really easy way in to start feeling touch again. But look around in your area. Ask your friends. I mean, if that's not too triggering, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, hit me up on social media. It's like, where do you live? If I know anyone that's a dominatrix or that has a conscious sensuality community, I'm very happy to hook you up. But I would say
Beautiful.
really go for, yeah, there's Fet Life, obviously, but that can be quite intense. Start I mean, there's Mama Gina, who wrote the book Pussy, really getting back into touch with your desires. There's Sheila Kennedy, who does all kinds of sensual movement. How can you strut around and start feeling yourself? All of that is beautiful, and it really starts you getting involved back into your own body.
Beautiful. Excellent. I am so thankful to you, Juliet, for your time today and all of the wisdom to that you've shared and all the work that you've done. It's very, very important. And we need more conversations around all of these things because it's a part of life, y'all. It's a part of life.
Thank you. And I would probably add one last thing. A friend of
Please.
mine has opened up this thing called speed tantra, speed dating. So
Mm,
it's like speed dating, but it's speed tantra. So you ask each other really quite intimate questions and then you move
yeah.
on to the next person. So you get in touch with yourself a little bit, right? With the feelings, the emotions, and how do you communicate this to someone else while they're a complete stranger? But often that's the place where you can be intimate. And maybe that's the discussion that you need to have with your partner. It's like, what does intimacy mean to you? Tell me. Like, tell me when I have a text conversation with my colleague and we're laughing, is that intimacy to you? Right? I mean, it can open a whole can of worms.
It sure can. And again, it all goes back to communication, right? What speaks to
Completely.
you, what doesn't. So thank you so, so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, give it a rating, and review while you're at it. It really goes a long way. And check out the show notes for all the ways to stay connected with me and our guests. Until the next episode.